Good morning. Welcome to this event. Bonjour, bienvenue à cet événement.
Welcome to this event. I am Josué Larrañaga, Vice President of ANEC team, and I'm going to be conducting this event. First, from Fit Blues, we would like to send our condolences for the death of the president of the Commission for ICCAT, and we would also like to thank the sub-regional government for providing us with these premises. This program aims to inform about the strategies of our program. So I would like to thank you your presence here. And first, I would like to talk about logistics. There will be interpreting services in French and English. You all have received information about how to connect and choose the language. At the end of the presentations, we will have a debate where you can ask any questions or comments, and you can send the questions to the speakers on the chat. This event will be recorded and sent to the participants. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Antonio Lizcano, who is the Deputy Director General of Fisheries Agreements of the General Secretariat of Fisheries in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food. And I would like to say thank you for being here and for the support that the ministry is giving us. Thank you, Antonio. You have the floor. Thank you very much to FEMP Blues and to the surface longline sector for inviting me at this side event and for your initiative of incorporating this event to the context of Panel 4 of ICCAT. We believe that it is very important to give visibility to the sector at this moment because they have achieved a lot of things on the management of fisheries of surface longline. This side event is included in the context of the Subcommission 4 in a meeting where important measures are going to be discussed for the management of some of the stocks that indirectly this fleet catches as bycatch. This sector has proven to be an example with this Fit Blues Fishery Improvement Project, providing information on the fishing grounds, information of scientific data on which the management of these fisheries are based, and also as an example of improvement towards a sustainable fishing. Nowadays, most of these stocks exploited by the surface longline fleet in Galicia and Spain are in good conditions, which is the case of blue shark or swordfish, which are the main species. And at the same time, in the last few years, ICCAT has made a lot of efforts to regulate these fisheries in such a way that nowadays we have a framework, also management plans that enable us to say positively that this fleet works in a sustainable way. In the case of mackerel shark, which is the object of the sessions of this panel 4, There was already a measure conducted by ICCAT, but because of the situation last year, we could not improve or continue. And the surface loan line sector is implementing it because Spain has established so they are implementing a additional management measure which involves retaining a maximum of 2 dead specimens per vessel and per fishing trip. Spain is self-limiting itself beyond the measures established by ICCAT for mackerel shark because one of the objectives of FEEP Blues is to continue getting information and collecting information about this stock because if not, if the sector does not collect this information, nobody will provide it. All of this is important for future assessments because the Spanish and Portuguese surface loan line fleets are the only ones that can provide them. In this sense, I would like to highlight that the partners of FIT Blues, the fleet of the North and South Atlantic, has a program of observers which is leading at world level, and they have collected in the last 4 years a lot of data that enable us to provide details that just a few fisheries can provide nowadays. At the General Secretariat of the Sea, we have the challenge of exploiting this database that has been prepared by the sector, the observers, and of course with the voluntary implementation of the electronic observer, which has given us a lesson of responsibility and of providing scientific data. And nowadays, now is the moment for the administrations to really use this data in a useful way for the assessments and scientific reports that will be the base for management measures to be taken by ICCAT in the forthcoming years. In the administration, we believe that with this event, we will be able to provide information that many people are not aware of about what the surface loan line sector is doing. And many will understand, as we have understood, that it is a model to be followed by other fleets. I'm going to give the floor now to the speakers who have a lot of information, interesting information to share with us. And the General Secretariat of the Sea has an agreement with the agents of FEEP Blues, and we will keep strengthening and deepening this relationship, which up to now has been very good. Thank you very much. And let's start with the presentations. Thank you, Antonio, for this presentation. You have given a lot of information. Thank you for all the support that the Secretariat of the Sea is giving us, and especially to the surface long line fleet and swordfish and blue shark. We are going to show a video about Fit Blues, so we can play it.
Fit Blues is a cooperative project between 4 producer organizations and 24 supply chain companies to improve the sustainability of swordfish and blue shark caught with long liners in the oceans. It comprises a total of 124 surface long liners, representing 90% of all the European fleet. It generates more than 1,200 direct jobs and 100 million euros of turnover amounting to 29,000 tons. It aims at improving the sustainability of the fisheries, both in Galicia, Spain, and the European Union. The main goals is to reach the recognized sustainability standards of the market, MSC, to guarantee the access of those stocks to the market, proving the commitment of the fleet with sustainability, to improve the scientific knowledge of the fisheries, and to have new partners and stakeholders, public and private, which would lead us to a reference position. We use methods and methodologies based in MSC, and fishery progress helps us to measure the sustainability of the fisheries stocks, the minimization of the impact of the activity in the ecosystem, and the effective management of the fisheries. Some of the concrete actions are to increase and to improve the providing of data to the scientists, to cooperate with potential recovery plans, to revise and to report data on the ETP catches, to train for reducing the sea turtles mortality, to develop good practices for handling ETP captures, to increase the observers coverage, and to launch mitigation pilot projects. FEMP is an example of sustainability. So I will just present to you this project, what FEMP is and why it is so important, its development.
Fishery Improvement Project. ¿Qué es FEMP?
So what is it, FEMP? It is a fisheries improvement project. It is devoted to swordfish and blue sharks. We are 14 supply chain companies and 4 OPPs. We want to improve and to face the environmental and social challenges of these fisheries. Our goal is to improve the performance of the fisheries in a progressive way and implementing good practices towards a comprehensive sustainability. It is a partnership agreement, a long-term one, between agents that take part in the supply chain of the fishing products to face in a sustainable way from a comprehensive view all the actions from the vessel to the table. We need an investment in order to implement the action plans, and finally they are monitored by fishery progress. First, we are 4 organizations of producers of migratory species. These 4 organizations that are taking part in this group, they work in the 4 oceans. We also are 14 companies of commercializing, transforming, and distribution. ANEC team. This is the National Association of Commercializing Companies and Transformers of Highly Migratory Species. We are association which want to meet goals such as cooperation between companies, transferring to the public opinion the commitment towards sustainability from the industry, and to promote this collective image about good practices and implement sustainability measures, to have a commitment of cooperation in different levels, from the public administrations to environmental organizations, and to promote actions regarding to safety, food safety, and cooperating with partners. Why? Because the consumer is demanding more and more fishing products and aquaculture products that are sustainable, and the distribution has written sustainability criteria for purchasing food and aquaculture products. For example, Greenpeace made a survey about which were their preference regarding seafood. There was a high percentage of people wanting to buy from sustainable areas. And it is important for the consumer. So there are criteria of sustainable purchasing. So there are, for example, in a supermarket such as Tesco, they say the best choices, and they say that they don't want to sell swordfish and blue shark in this case. And in the US, for example, the Monterey Bay Aquarium speak about good species for their consumption, and in this red list we can find sharks and swordfish. So facing this situation, as we are committed to the sustainability of the fisheries, the Longliners associations in 2014, we made a pre-assessment through MSC of the blue shark and swordfish in all the oceans: Atlantic, South Atlantic, Pacific, and Indic oceans. So we got a picture of how the situation was, and then we decided to improve the fleet first. And so in 2018, we had the framework agreement for FEP Plus and the registry in the fishery progress as prospective. In 2019, a plan of action and implementation was approved. So FEP Plus represent the effort and the commitment of various actors which are in the value chain. The goals to reach more recognized sustainable fisheries standards such as MSC, to make a difference from lower standards fleets. As I said, those supermarkets are not considering blue shark and swordfish. So we want to say to those hypermarkets that they can buy it and they are fished in a sustainable manner. To guarantee, therefore, the access of all markets from the catches of this fleet, and to look for new partners, both private and public, that want to take part in this important challenge that we have in FEP Plus. Methodology, as it was said before, MSC as a reference standard, which measures the sustainability of the fishing stocks and the progress in time, the minimization of the impact of the activity in the ecosystem, and the effective management of the fishing stocks. Fishery progress is also the responsible of the following up and monitoring of the FEP by approving the task development, the different indicators and certification of the evidence and accrediting the final FEP. In the case, in the one that we have, the action plan has swordfish and blue shark as target species, and we are working on the North Atlantic and South Atlantic, and it is the fishing fleet, the EU fishing fleet. We have 4 important aspects. First, strategy of catch and management interaction with ICCAT, and number 4, subcommission. Then to address the lack of data regarding the blue shark and ETPs, to increase the coverage of the observers on board, and improving and defining a scheme for providing data. Also, the development and implementation of research applied regarding to mitigation techniques. Some of the speakers will talk about that later. So Sustain Hook was created. What is Sustain Hook? It is a communication program of the work that we've developed so that we can transfer to all the stakeholders the work that we've done already and that we've planified for the future through this FEP+ project. This is the first step, and we hope that we will be organizing more events in the future. That's it for my part. And now we will be starting a second block in which we will first show a video where the OPP promoter will be speaking. So, video, please.
Las organizaciones de productores integradas
The
en el
producers' organizations that make up FEP+ have been working for years on measures to improve the management of the fisheries where we conduct our activity from an environmental, economic, and social approach. We've always tried to perform our fishing activity in the most sustainable way. So in 2018, together with the marketing sector grouped in the Enacting Association, we decided to take a further step and join forces to reach the optimal sustainability standards set at international level through the implementation of the Fishery Improvement Project FEP+, complying with well-known international certification standards. The FEP+ project has compiled all the measures already developed in the sector to this day and has also added and promoted new initiatives. We have a constant relationship and contact with researchers and with the scientific research institutes, which are basic for us. We have a direct relationship with some famous international researchers, and thanks to their work, we try to reinforce the methodology within the assessment structure used for the species that concern us. With the Spanish Institute of Oceanography and the scientists of the highly migratory species team, we have a permanent relationship, which is important to get the feedback that the sector needs from land. As for our relationship with the administration, it has always been strong, but FEP+ has even strengthened it. We have signed a framework collaboration agreement with the Spanish Fisheries Administration, the General Secretariat of the Sea, and we have signed another agreement with the Galician regional government, with the Regional Department of the Sea. We are also working on fostering our relationships with the DG Mare and ICCAT. We are also working with non-governmental organizations such as SFP, Submon, Kelonia, SilverLife, IUCN, WWF, and they collaborate directly and firmly in some of the measures proposed. We have improved and increased the supply of scientific data to the administration by implementing a program of observers on board the vessels. It is a solid and homogeneous system used by all the organizations that share the FEMP. This quality of information that we have provided is the result of increasing the coverage of physical observers on board the fleet. Secondly, we have also started an electronic observation system. It has been tested and verified, and it has also enabled us to increase the observation coverage in the oceans where the fleet operates, especially in the Atlantic, both in the north and south. Finally, we have worked directly with our fisheries administration in order to find alternatives to the current fisheries management model, considering other types of options, such as space-time closures, as an efficient and effective management model to achieve the sustainability of the fishing ground, which is the main purpose of FEMP Blues. One of the main things we have done is training for the crew. Workshops with skippers aimed at improving data collection, for instance, filling in the compulsory data in an electronic logbook, or voluntary data to have a better and higher compilation of data. We have also given training to the crews in general on the mitigation of ETP. On the one hand, we have trained the crew on the handling of marine turtles in case of incidents. A veterinary specializing in turtle anatomy explained the difference between the species of turtles and the difference on how to remove the hook depending on where it is, the mouth, the throat. They didn't have this type of training, and it is helping to reduce the mortality in case of interaction with marine turtles. This also led to projects for the development of tools or devices to lift these species and help the crew to remove the hook. Some examples of projects for the mitigation of ETPs were this CARIA device, the Spantaves project, which is the standardization of bird scaring lines. Also, pilot tests were conducted with circular hooks, reaching the conclusion that it is harder for the crews to remove the hook in case of incidents with marine turtles. And tests were also conducted with acoustic devices to frighten cetaceans and mammals.
Espero que haya sido de interés este vídeo.
I think this video was very interesting. I personally love it. And now, I would like to give the floor to Juan Martín, manager of OPROMAR, Regional Fisheries Management Organization of Marine, and he's going to talk about the physical observation and electronic observation program. Thank you very much. And within the actions that we have conducted within FEMP Blues for the improvement of the collection of data of the fishing ground and the fisheries and increase of observation coverage, we have the physical and electronic observation program. First, The physical observation program on surface longline, as already explained this morning, since 2017, an observation program was implemented. It is solid and standardized for the entire fleet of FleetBlues in coordination with the General Secretariat of Fisheries. We started with physical observation by hiring specialized staff, and in any case, companies certified before the regional fisheries management organizations. And in 2018, the fleet started to incorporate electronic observers on board to complete the work carried out by the physical observers. You can see here an image extracted from this electronic observation system implemented on board a fishing vessel. The observing program for surface longline, in collaboration with the Secretariat of Fisheries, was conducted with a wide coverage of the fishing areas where the fleet is operating. And in that table, you can see the observation days corresponding to each of the organizations of FleetBlues from 2018 to 2020. And depending on the requirements established in the different regional fisheries organizations, we can see that even if in 2020 and 2021, during the pandemic, with a lot of difficulties to have observers on board, because this pandemic permitted to move goods, but it was very difficult to move the crews and observers. But there is an increasing trend since 2018, when this system was implemented. And in those 3 years, we see the evolution. The objective is to increase the observation level. We believe that we have complied with the program that we have prepared, and we have exceeded the percentage every year, and the same is expected for this 2021. Therefore, we believe that this observation program, and I say it again, a solid program that has been implemented by the entire fleet, will provide very interesting and good information for the managers of the fisheries to take the best decisions for the sustainability and improvement of the fishing ground and fisheries area. Yeah, I know this last year and a half has been very hard for the observers on board. Some of them had to travel the entire world to come back home. This involved a great effort of those people who were working as observers. Now I would like to give the floor to Juana Parada from Orpagu, who is going to talk about incidental catches of turtles within FleetBlues. Juana, you have the floor.
Yo voy a hablar un poco sobre algunas de
I'm
las...
going to speak about some of the initiatives regarding the reducing of bycatch of sea turtles, which happen in some seasons in our long lining. And it was a result of this observers program. It really helped us to know how to learn and how to train the crew to handle these species. So first of all, we designed a training program for people and with the skippers especially, which and with the owners of the vessels. From that point on, we designed some health devices for reducing the mortality when this interaction took place. And last but not least, I will talk to you about some pilot projects that were launched and the conclusions about them. Regarding the crew and the workshops with the people, we had Mariluz Parga, which is a vet specialized in turtles anatomy, and it was really shocking for us, the differences about the species regarding size, anatomy, and how to act regarding how to extract the hook and remove it. We thought that it should be taken out, and that is not always the case, depending on where it has been swallowed, and maybe it should be better not to take it out. So we learned a lot. Thanks to these workshops, speaking and talking with the biologists, because there is a direct contact with this biologist, which is who is on board. So, but once this biologist has landed, this relationship and cooperation goes on. And so we learned about how to improve and how to train the crew. And they told us that the hoisting maneuver, how to pull up the turtle, depending on the species of the turtle and when the hook has been swallowed, where they realized that we could work on how to improve this maneuver of pulling up the turtle. And this device was designed depending on the size of the turtle, so that the turtle could be lifted, and long lining, the fishing line didn't hurt the turtle. In the cases where the turtle shouldn't be really lifted, we also design other devices. In this regard, we had some circular hook pilot projects following some recommendations. And so some tides, some fishing operations were doing with these hooks, and the biologists said that they reduced well, there wasn't any reduction of the interaction with the turtles, but it was even worse for the extraction of the hooks. So we thought that the mortality could be increased with this. That's all. Thank you very much. That's so interesting, isn't it? It is clear that when fishermen go to the sea, if they are trained how to free the turtles, that's great, isn't it? So now I will give the floor to the third talk by the director of UNAPA, Organization of National Surface Longliners Producers, and he will be speaking, Edelmiro Ulloa, about the initiatives of the mitigation of bycatch of birds. Thank you very much.
Let's see if we have the presentation. When we talk about initiatives to mitigate accidental catches, talking about seabirds, we need to start from a statement that is a basic pillar. The surface long line fleet, at least in Spain, has a very low interaction with seabirds. This is not something that we say, but it's said by scientific reports prepared by regional fisheries organizations. The interaction level was 4 per 100,000 hooks, which is very low. At the Western, between 1990 and 2005, for 3,200,000 hooks, it was only one, and then 3.1 for 1,100,000 hooks in another area. And in 2014, there was another report informing about 0, but well, there may be some interactions, and we are within an improvement project. So even if these levels are low, even if the fleet is well positioned regarding the interaction with seabirds, improvement means okay, is this what? Yeah, okay, I wanted to move the slide. So the improvements were based on 3 essential pillars: training for the crews with mitigation workshops. I will explain what the RFMOs did. The development of mitigation devices, such as the Espantaves project, and pilot tests with mitigation devices like the Scadia pilot. They show the improvement and the commitment with sustainability, not just from the 4 RFMOs that make up FIT Plus, but also by ship owners, skippers, and crews. This is something that we find essential. In the case of training for the crews, in these workshops, we explained the problems of handling the birds in case these interactions take place, how to treat them on board, what to do if they are wet, cover them with a towel in a box so they can recover, and then once it is recovered, how to return it to the sea, and prior mitigations such as night long line lifting, also leaving waste on the other side, or when the fishing gear is lifted, or in the case of bottom long line, which is not the case, but also looking for a better deepening of the fishing gear in a shorter period of time. So all these issues were tackled in the workshops, and I think it's basic because they are the ones who are going to implement this improvement project. And then within the projects, I would like to talk about Espantaves. We know that the vessels have storylines, and we believed that we need to step forward and continue working on this. So you can see here a tower. Some of them are automated and others not, and depending on the size of the vessel, they may be adapted. They are engineering designs that have been already tested and they are working. And within the tories, we are looking for how those storylines, which are already there, can be improved. For example, changing the color of the lines. So these are improvements in which we are involved. Our improvement is continuous. This is a continuous assessment, like at school for kids. So we are in that continuous improvement, and these projects need to be there. Then we have pilot tests with mitigation devices like the SCADIA pilot project. As we already had a system permitting the hooks to go deeper faster, but we are looking with this SCADIA pilot project a better way of doing it. So these hooks are at a deeper depth than what the birds can achieve. These improvements, we are sure, will include more projects in the forthcoming years, and we will have zero interaction with seabirds. We know zero is impossible, but we will be very close, because that's where excellence is, and that's what we need to achieve on the sustainability field. Thank you very much, Edelmiro. These projects are so interesting, and I think we need to focus on the efforts made by the fleet to prevent the incidental catch of seabirds and turtles. Finally, José Manuel Fernández, Technical Secretary of the RFMO of Lugo, and he is going to talk about an analysis and implementation of surface longline.
Tiempo esta parte que define de forma
There
explícita
is a word that is repeated once and again, and it is sustainability. We all want to be sustainable. We are fighting to reach this label in any activity, not only in fishing, in any kind of activity. So if we follow these guidelines and aligned with the common fisheries policies and the OCM, the members of FIPLUS also want that the activity of the responsible activity that we implement is recognized as a highest sustainable one. So we think that we can be called good practices. And this is why these actions are so important, and we wanted to include them in this FIPLUS project. In order to do so, we divided the process in two parts, in two stages. During the first stage, we did an analysis, and afterwards we did the implementation and execution phase. So during this first analysis stage, we analyzed the features of the fleet, which is a long liners one, the rules, the legal framework that affect to the activity, the normal uses and habits of the fleet, the socioeconomic impact, and we also collect all the current behaviors that are being that are in place in our crew and in our fleet. So once we analyzed these first points, we realized that it was important to reinforce a culture of accountability and good practices. So to commit ourselves with quality and with continuous improvement of our task. And the most, well, the simplest methodology that we could use was the participation and involvement of the stakeholders, of the fishermen, of the main actors, which are fishermen, first of all. The second stage would be the implementation. What are we implementing? We are implementing good practices that we have divided in 3 big groups. First, regarding environment. Secondly, regarding social good practices. And the third group, which would be focused on good commercializing or trade practices. Regarding the first ones, we have here a summary of the main elements of the environmental good practices, such as the reduction and management of waste, to develop and to meet these waste management plans, to land this waste in the areas that are devoted for that purpose. And so these should be special areas that should be localized so that this can be done properly. We also optimized the energy efficiency by reducing the vessel's emissions. So we try to use alternative energies that would replace the current ones. Our goal is to have the same energy, but with alternative resources. The last element would be to manage the catches in a sustainable way, so to know where we are, how to program and planify the catch, and how is it more profitable, and to prevent and reduce the discards and also the catches of the ETPs, the endangered, threatened and protected species. And of course, the continuous fight against the undeclared and non-regulated and fishing. Regarding good social practices, we want to guarantee the social standards established in the framework of the 188 by the International Labour Organization. And we want to give a decent salary, a decent job, and following this regulation on the conditions of the worker. And we also need to offer a medical examination before getting on board and afterwards and during their working time, also to have proper social security, to provide food and accommodation, and to meet the working hours and the rest hours, and to give safety and health in the job place so that the worker can feel and be safe on board. Also, to be held accountable regarding the business people and working people. So to improve eventually to look for perfection, which doesn't exist, but trying to reach for it. The last block regarding good practices is focused, as I said before, in trade. We wanted to pay attention to food safety and to the good hygienic conditions in the vessel, with the fishing gears, with the contact between inside the crew, with the product, with the fish. It is very important so that the product that is produced is properly conserved and transported and following the best safety hygienic conditions. Also, the traceability and information to consumer is an important point regarding this block, because the consumer needs to know in which stage is the fish that is being caught. From the first moment in which the fish is caught until it reaches our dishes, our tables for us to eat the fish. So we believed in the involvement, as I said before, of the actors taking part in this project. So we reached a place of commitment in which every member is involved and is committed to contribute towards sustainability. Because it's the environment is also the means of having a life, an activity, a labor activity to all these people. And finally, in order to reinforce this duty and commitment, we wrote a good practices guide and some summary information so that it can be easily be read and checked upon by any user in a very quick and simple way. I think that's all. Oh, it is so interesting. Everything that is being done, all your presentations are really valorizing the importance of teamwork, not only in fishing, but also in transforming processes, in the processing industry, in the market. And I am representative of commercializing companies, and I am convinced that we are doing things right. Inside the FIP, we have also other stakeholders, which are, for example, NGOs. Now, in the next module, we will be having NGOs as participants, and I would like to introduce you to you, Pedro Ferreiro, which is the director of the Sustainable Fisheries Partnerships. And I want to tell you that in 2016, when we were on stuck, and we thought that we needed Pedro, and Pedro really introduced us to the FIP, explained to us how to organize ourselves. And afterwards, in 2018, we had the FIP, and I also have to thank Pedro, especially personally, because I've learned so much from him. And thanks to him, we have another vision of what sustainability is. You have the floor.
First of all, This is an amazing journey. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the presentation. Can you see it? We can start, right? Okay. Yeah, can you see the presentation? Or do you see the moderator view? We see it correctly. Okay. It is a pleasure to be with you here today, and I'm going to talk about SFP and fishery progress, which is a main pillar of this project and of all the projects for fisheries improvement. So we are going to start by talking about SFP. And for that, we need to talk about our mission and our vision. The objective of SFP is to preserve aquatic resources and ecosystems by reducing the impact on the marine environment of the fisheries and aquaculture activities, conducting sustainable activities for a responsible economy. We work every day for all the fisheries and aquaculture products to be produced in a sustainable way. The objective is to have the entire production sustainable. We are an NGO, an environmental NGO for the conservation of the sea, founded in 2006, that engages the most significant seafood retailers, the HoReCa sector, other companies within the supply chain, to drive actions to improve fisheries, reduce the environmental impacts of fishing and fish farming, ensure sustained economic opportunities for fishing communities, and creating favorable conditions for the industry to be self-sufficient in the improvement efforts. Apart from what we do, I would like to say what we don't do, because we are a different organization to other conservation organizations, because we do not work with awareness raising campaigns. And this is different from other organizations because we only work with companies, with the supply chain to promote improvements, because we believe that the market and the companies are a key factor and a unique driver to guarantee and improve the sustainability of the fisheries. We do not impose a sustainability policy, but we identify the risks in fisheries, and then each party assumes what they can assume. We are not a eco-labeling program either. And our strategy for change, to mobilize improvements in as much of the world's seafood production as fast as possible. Why? Because when sustainability becomes a standard in fisheries that are not within a context that permits to move towards sustainability, they will be forced to advance or they will be out of the market. So we work with the industry by generating capacity and leadership for the conservation of the environment. SFP was an early leader in the sustainable seafood movement, even if it's a quite young organization, founded in 2006. And it is also a pioneer on sustainable seafood trailblazer. This graph shows the cumulative production from stocks associated to all FEPs current and historical. And why? Because SFP has been known for promoting this model. We have more than 30 partners, companies that sponsor us, and we use different platforms where we add companies with common interests to promote improvements in a specific sector. There are more than 150 companies in the supply chain that supply many of our sponsors, which are mainly big distributors, big wholesalers. As you can see here, we have retailers, we have companies with a certain reputation that they want to take care of, for example, Walt Disney World. So big wholesalers and suppliers of retailers and food service. Fishery Progress. We are going to see what it is now. It is an initiative by another North American NGO called Fish Choice, which is also part of the global fishery sustainability movement, and they are the ones managing this platform. As the number of improvement projects has increased in the world, companies needed a way of accessing credible and coherent and consistent information. So Fishery Progress was launched in October 2016 to solve this problem. It is a website that offers information about the FIPs that exist at world level and provides an idea of the progress and opportunities to participate, as well as of the evidence of the improvements of these projects. Fishery Progress is the information website visited by everybody nowadays to see the evolution of the fishery improvement projects, and it's also a platform that monitors these FIPs. It makes this monitoring to be more coherent and efficient for the companies that are supporting these projects or maybe interested in supporting them. What makes Fishery Progress different? Well, it is the reference for all the members of this global sustainability movement, aggregated within the Conservation Alliance, which is a group of stakeholders working in this area of fishery sustainability. And they use this platform as a reference to monitor and follow the fishery improvement projects. All fishery improvement projects need to inform about the advances in their work plan every 6 months. All projects measure progress with the same indicators, which are the ones used by the EMSC standard. It can be freely accessed by all the FIPs.
Y por lo tanto, para evidenciar los trabajos y los avances que se están llevando a cabo.
And to show the works that are being carried out, and the implementers upload this information, but this information is revised by the team before it's published on the website. How do we measure the progress? The evolution of these scores through the time shows how these fisheries are improving. Here we have a screenshot of a project, and we can see how in April 2016 there were some red scores, and throughout the time those scores were changed to reach a situation in which the fisheries could comply with the certification process if they find it appropriate. Fishery progress has to be transparent. It has to ensure transparency because improvements can be verified by accessing all the relevant information so they can really improve. This is one of the keys. This evidence is public and everybody can access the platform, access the profile of the project, and see which actions have been taken to change an indicator from a less positive situation to a more favorable one. I have also included here this social component because this year fishery progress started to include a social area to measure the performance as far as social fisheries, the social field is involved. As for this evaluation program, SFP is the one conducting these evaluations. There is a assessment program of fishery improvement projects that defines and assesses the progress of the fishery improvement projects, reporting to it. These projects are made up by 6 stages of achievement. The last one is optional. They involve the development of the FEMP structure, which could be 1 and 2, the implementation of the project and the actions therein, and improvements, which could be actions 4 and 5. 4 would be improvements on policies, and 5 would be the outcomes on the improvement on the fish stocks. Finally, the certification, the MSc certification is voluntary, and it's included as stage 6, because I think that in the case of FEMP Blues, this is what they are looking for. The assessment of improvement projects becomes a rating, which facilitates the understanding of how the improvement projects include the commitments they undertook. This methodology is unique and it uses time reference points to understand the evolution, and the grade may be from A, which could mean exceptional progress, to E, which could be negligible progress. This means that when buyers are investing or supporting an improvement project, they want a project within a B or C grade project, which are the appropriate ones where purchasers will have no problem from buying from those fisheries. This methodology is the main metrics used by fishery progress to check the progress of the fishery improvement projects. Finally, I would like to say that FEMP Blues is a clear example of the sustainability pathway that can be followed by fisheries to achieve the recognition of EU and North American markets, which are the ones demanding this commitment to sustainability, while they work on the improvements to achieve this objective. Before I finish, I would like to say something, and I'd like you to ask yourselves, which would be the situation of swordfish and blue shark species if the behavior of all the fishing fleets working in them was the same as the one conducted by the fleet in FEMP Blues. This is what I wanted you to think, because I think all the fleets are not doing the same, they are not behaving the same way, and it is prudent and desirable to recognize and visualize those who are taking the leaderships to progress in the sustainability of fisheries. Thank you, Pedro. Very interesting comment. I believe that people within the fourth subcommission of ICCAT think the same. Thank you for helping us since 2016, 2017 until now, and the years coming, and we hope you will keep supporting us and guiding us in this path. Now we are going to play another video with other NGOs that are participating. We have Pablo Carrera Lopez, the director of the Oceanographic Center of Vigo, Maria Luz Parga Lopez, project manager of CEDMON, which works on the conservation and preservation of biodiversity in the sea, and Alessandro Rodriguez, who is the manager of the consulting department.
Pois da flota de palanca de superficie, a relación que teño eu
The
é bastante.
relationship that I have with the long liners fleet started in the 80s. And back then, we got to know how the fleet was behaving and also to get very important data, such as the catch per unit of effort, which is the relationship between the catch of the vessel and the effort, which allows us to measure the population. And the good thing was that from then on, we were collecting more and more data. And with that information, apart from this index regarding the population size, we could also get biological information and the campaigns on tuna and on sharks with the movements of the population regarding the assigned index and also the mortality index. We should take into account that we are aiming at sustainable fishing, but also to giving an added value to the fishing, because this will open the markets. We are speaking about a limited resource in which the recovery rate depends on the intrinsic ability of the populations for self-regeneration. So any measure aimed at organizing the fishermen and raising awareness, that would be great, but improving the cooperation towards a valid added value would always be good, because the consumer will choose on this added value, such as sustainability value and conservation value, because the people are more and more aware of the importance of sustainability. So I think that these initiatives are really good, because they raise a collective awareness in the sector, because many times we have this idea of isolated romantic fishermen working on their own, but they are always working with common interests. So if they make having added value to their products, well, and make the fisheries more sustainable, that's a win-win.
especialización es...
I am specialized in sea turtle clinics and bycatch, and I work with any kind of fishermen all over the world, trying to reduce the bycatch of turtles and try to increase the survival of sea turtles. The good thing of long lining is that turtles are alive when they are caught. So there is a great margin of action. Fishermen can do many things to make the turtle survive after the liberation. It is so what we do is to train the fishermen so that they know how to save these turtles, because it can be dangerous, and it should be explained so that they know how to do it for their own safety too, not only the turtles. When it is very important, we are seeing that these initiatives are very important, and the longliners are being pioneers because they were the ones who wanted to make this difference and to improve their help and support towards sea turtles. They could choose not to do it, and they chose to do so. So we train them with tools and knowledge so that they know how to handle sea turtles that are appearing in their long lines, so that they can survive, or they have the biggest possibilities of survival after the interaction. Hello. Good morning to you all. My name is Alexander Rodriguez. I am the Secretary Director of the Long Distance Fleet Regional Advisory Council of the EU, the LDAC. I wanted to thank the organizers for this possibility of sharing with you what we are doing from the LDAC. We are so proud of having all the partners that are taking part in FIP Blue, such as Orpago, Opromar, OPPCT, 7 Lugo, and RV OPC3. We are witnessing that the longliners are the fleets, are the most active ones and the ones that had suffered the most frequent changes of legal frameworks, and they are an example of sustainability for the sector, in both environmental and social sustainability. We are supporting them by issuing expert opinions, and we think that the FIP is very positive initiatives to improve their situation, and there is a strategic plan towards 2024. We've issued some expert opinions from the LDAC and towards the ICCAT, and we most of the times agree with initiatives regarding the increase of the observers coverage and going further than the 5%, which is compulsory, and also regarding the accountability, transparency, and the voluntary measures to limit catches and to prevent the catch of juveniles. And so the possibility of closing some areas during for some periods of closure for some times or space. We want to remember that they've reduced the catches during the since 2017 regarding the surfing mako, and also they've developed measures to mitigate bycatches, and such as the Orpago famous device to save turtles. We've always supported that initiatives, such as, for example, and the case in Cape Verde, and where we've seen that there is a bigger need of coordination of the data fluxes, because in that case we've seen that the quality of the data are arriving to the ICCAT are not the ones that we know that they are being provided by the fleet. So this is not due to distortion or duplicity, but it is with authorities that are receiving this data in paper logbooks or electronic. So we also belong to Farfish and as Warpago and Opromar. So we are trying to harmonize the protocols to improve the quality. And finally, I'd like to say that we are committed with working with the FEMP towards improving the management and sustainability of the fisheries. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope that with this video, you can be aware of what we are working with other stakeholders. So now we arrived to the last part of the event, in which we will be reading some conclusions on what was presented here, and we will open the floor for questions through the chat or just so that you can ask any questions to the people in the panel. After speaking with all my colleagues, we've summed up what happened during this webinar, and that we are sure that will enrich the discussion. FEPLUS is a very powerful initiative, and it involves a high percentage of the fleet affected, and also the commercializing sector of the swordfish and blue shark. It is backed up by national and regional administrations, and also at international level from the fishing sector and also from NGOs. Surface long-line sector is highly involved in fishing sustainability, as it was proved in this webinar with a description of the action and initiatives that are being developed towards a sustainable management of the resources, both mid-term and long-term. And also the commercialization and transformation sector is involved with the productive service sector, having the information on the market and on the demand of the sustainable fishing resources. Research is also vital for sustainability, and so we are in touch with research bodies involved in these fisheries, and we've developed specific initiatives regarding the assessment of the fisheries. FEPLUS is an example of sustainability at world level. There are other FEPLUS on swordfish and blue shark that are also starting now, and we want to cooperate with them because, as it was said, these activities should be implemented in all oceans by all countries. So now I open the floor for questions. If there is any question, you can ask it, please.
A ver, ¿hay alguno en esta mesa que quiera tomar el liderazgo para hablar un poco?
Any question? I think that what Pedro said was also very interesting. Elmira, please.
Además, una información que a lo mejor no se conoce. Nosotros, como tenemos flotas en todos los océanos del mundo, en las distintas organizaciones regionales de pesca, consideramos que este es un proceso que tiene que ser muy serio y que se tiene que llevar paso a paso. Hay un entrenador de fútbol bastante famoso que diría partido a partido. Pues estamos siguiendo la misma política.
Match after match. So we are following this policy, and the part of the FIP that we are developing is the Atlantic Ocean, and then we will move to the Indian and to the Pacific Ocean, both the Western and ICCAT. But on this first stage, we are focusing on improving our systems in the Atlantic. Although all these processes benefit the other areas, fishing areas where our fishing fleet is operating, of course, as our ship owners are common and they this is an open process, so the improvements will be for everybody, but we will tackle these areas later on. Yeah, to answer the question of Pedro Ferreiro about what is the behavior of the fleet, I'm going to talk about our fleet and the European fleet and other countries' fleets. The nice part would be that there is an increasing involvement by the community fleet, the EU fleet. The new generations are helping to these improvements. They are aware that they need to be involved and they are having a great behavior, but they are feeling that their efforts are not bearing the fruit they expected, because they see that they feel demotivated because the measures are not taking all the fleets. So certain legislative decisions that affect their fisheries are demotivating them. So I think that this needs to be extended to other fleets in other countries, because if we didn't do this at a global level, this will not have a long-term result. José Manuel, is there anything you would like to say? I would like to thank Pedro for the information and the support that he has provided since the beginning. This is a continuous process. We are increasing the actions taken, the improvements. And as Juana said, it is important to extend all of these to other fleets. Responsibilities need to be taken, and they are expected to affect everybody and benefit the parties. But up to this moment, we have not seen the real impact. We are at a improvement stage of fisheries. And we are calling authorities, ICCAT, and scientists for them to see that we are making efforts. And these efforts need to be translated into something positive for the fleet. I think we have a question. They ask about the observation data. What are they used for? And Xavier Vázquez from the DG Mare asks about the availability of those data. Could you repeat that, please? Because with the mask, it's hard to understand. We are being asked about what are the fisheries observation data used for, and Xavier Vázquez from DG Mare asks about the availability of said data. The data are always available for the Spanish Fisheries Administrations and the Spanish Institute of Oceanography, because we believe that these data are the ones that can really promote the improvement of information that scientists may need. especially on ETPs and some secondary species, we know that the database that we have about swordfish and blue shark is a very solid database, but strengthening data is important. In the case of other species, we believe that it is also interesting to get more data and information. So the information is in hands of the IEO and the Spanish administration. How can we distinguish in the market the fish coming from these initiatives? In order to access some markets with these products, like swordfish, you need to achieve a sustainability level, and FeedBlues has enabled us to access markets like the North American market, or working with the distribution in Europe to increase the value of the work conducted by the surface longline fleet producers. So in order to continue selling the products in different supermarkets and in foreign markets, we need all of these. We are having somebody from the DG Mare who is going to talk.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon. I'm talking from home and I haven't shaved, but I think the speech will be the same. So when I asked about the availability of the data, I wanted to know why it takes so long to process them, because the responses that we got from the administrations were that this data will not be available for the meeting of panel 4, data which were very interesting for short-term macro, all the incidences and on the operation, the number of species that were returned alive. So I understood the response, but it looked like they needed to be coordinated for them to be translated into a quicker transmission of those data to the ICCAT scientific committees. Thank you very much. And good afternoon. Yes, Xavier. This is what the sector can do, but then the Secretariat General of Fisheries, and that's why there is an agreement between the FEMP and the Secretariat. It's not easy for them because there are so many data, raw materials, and I think the Secretariat should answer maybe this question, because they are analyzing these data first, and then we have that part of sending those data to the European Commission and to the regional fisheries organizations. This is very important, and I think this first work has progressed a lot, but I think that second step is they are working on it. On our side, we will talk with the Secretariat General to see if they can progress and give access to the agents who are participating in this process. Yes, they are asking if it is possible to distinguish in the market the fish coming from producers making up FeedBlues. Nowadays, no companies are using the logo of FeedBlues to mark the fish. It is not being used right now as a brand. in the labels to differentiate this product. We are working on it, and I hope in our next webinar we will get some interesting information about this.
Just another question about this concept of innovation in devices and good practices. How has it been considered? Well, first of all, the implementation of good practices on board is a high one. So we are reinforcing, updating all those good practices that should be implemented, but many of them have already been frequent during the last years. The longliners think positively and think that they should go forward with this implementation and meeting and complying these regulations. And they think positively because if not, facing the future, they could just say goodbye, but they don't. So they are people in the vessels, fishermen that are easily adapted and work in a positive way. Any other question, please? Any other? Good morning. Hello. Is it possible for me to intervene, to speak? Hello? Yes, please, go ahead. Good morning. I am at home because it is the anniversary of our independence in Algeria, so I'm at home. And I'd like also to take advantage of this opportunity to congratulate everybody for the huge work that you've done, really huge work, and due to the artisanal character of the fishing in Algeria, in the Mediterranean, in the artisanal, in the coastal area. But we would also like to have observers, but we needed a system of awareness raising so that it works better regarding birds and sea turtles, especially because we don't have all the kinds of sharks. And so we should be doing a scientific work first and having a report on the species so that we have an inventory of these species. And we also belong to the panel 4 and we'd like to contribute towards this initiative. Thank you very much. Thank you. We think it is very important that it is not only the industrial fleet, the one that is able to implement this FEMP Plus project, but also artisanal fleet of coastal countries that in adapted and cellular way, they can also implement this FEMP. We know that it is difficult to raise awareness regarding observers, but we think that the public opinion and sustainability and the future of fishing will be based in what we've already said, and the improvements in mitigation of the interactions with birds or sea turtles or other sensitive species. And the observers are very important for that purpose. There is also other element which we think it is crucial for the final goal, is that from the administration, the efforts of the sector should be recognized in every level. For example, the Spanish longliners fleet in 2010 reached an agreement with the Spanish administration so that 2 species could be considered as prohibited species to fish. And with this idea, we made a change and it reached Brussels. So we think that it is very important the involvement of the artisanal fleet in FEP, in any FEPs. So we are open to help for that purpose. Any other comment? Yes, just to complement what Edelmiro said regarding the representative of Algeria, the managers have a strong role to play here, and it is very important that the fishermen had an impact, see the impact of the efforts, because if it is just a negative side and there is no prize, no reward, that's harder to raise awareness. Nowadays, there are electronic tools that can contribute for them to help easily without the presence of observers on board when there is a lack of space. So I think it is important that from the administration, this effort is valued, because that's the only way to involve the fishermen, I think. Thank you. Any other question? We are being asked. You spoke about that, Yusune, very briefly, but which other species of swordfish and blue shark? Well, there is one organized by Japan. I think that she can speak more about it because this organization has visited us in the past, and now they are with this in Japan, and there are other projects in Brazil, in Mexico, and the last time I checked, they were not active, but it is very important that this doesn't only apply to our Spanish or European fleet. People should be aware that the sustainability of these species depend on all the fleet that is fishing with surface longliners. So everybody should take part in it towards sustainability. I just like to add that when the contact comes bottom up and not from up to down, so it comes from the contact between among fishermen. For example, with Japan, we share culture and tradition and food regarding fishing. With the contact of fishermen, with time and cooperation, we realized that it was necessary to launch this kind of initiatives, and we are very proud of that. Yosine, I don't know if you can hear me properly. I think that INUMA, the Japanese association, is already in the fishery progress since March this year, and I think it is a positive step and sign that we are all working towards the same goal. Great. So yes, I can share the link with you so that you can follow the map. In the chat, we are asked, we are being commented that highlighting the effort and vision of the fishermen is a good thing, but many times they don't have channels so that they can have the visibility that they should be having. I don't know if you can talk about that from FEP+. We have a biologist, Joan Loeiro, who is hired full-time so that he can coordinate all the reports and the activities. And he's been doing some offering training to skippers, to ship owners, so that they know about our vessels and our goals, and involving with the people, with these skippers and vessels owners, so that we can improve the collection of data to see what is happening in the vessels, or for example, using email and presence observation. So it is not bottom up, it is not up to the bottom, but it is bottom up, and that's a good thing, I think. From the chat, they say if there is any initiative so that we can visualize this initiative towards the consumer. Yes, this is just the first step. So we are working a lot regarding on the boards, on the regional fishing producers associations, and now we have to go further. We will organize another event in which we can include the big distribution and to present FEP+ to the big wholesalers and distribution. And that's very important because many times consumers have a narrowed or biased vision of what we are doing. So I think that they will be shocked and impressed about the work that we are doing, because in the vessels, they don't only fish, they also protect the species, the sea species, birds and turtles. Maria Parga is saying that we also contacted with the Costa Rica Pacific FEP that they are doing. I don't know which species. We will be seeing that, and with the fishery progress, I don't know. Yes, this FEP is driven by the development program of the United Nations, and we also belong to that project. We take part in this project. It is big pelagic species, but to the swordfish, mahi-mahi, and the yellowfin. And they are also in the chat. So we have the FEP, the links to Japan and Costa Rica too. Any other question? If there is no further questions, then we can close this event. Thank you all for your presence, and we hope that this event has been informative and has drawn your attention. This is just the first step about the communication of the FEP+ project. We hope that we keep on working and informing you about any progresses regarding the commercialization, regarding the big distribution, the consumer, and and we will keep you informed about it. Thank you so much for your presence, and see you soon.